Hello, welcome. In this quick talk, I'm going to touch on the 5D Mark IV and what Nikon didn't announce at Photokina 2016. To touch on the 5D Mark IV, I would suggest that if you haven't already, go and check out the various videos by the pros themselves. So there is a couple videos by Tony Northrup. Matt Granger has talked on the topic, and it essentially comes down to looking at other sources as well, it being a great stills camera. I don't think anybody ever thought that was going to be an issue. The downfall, if one could say, of the 5D Mark IV is that when it comes to video, given it has the dual pixel AF technology that debuted on the 70D, which has progressed to the 80D that I'm using to film this right now. And just to illustrate what the dual pixel AF is all about, if I were to bring this closer, when it does a transition, I'm going to block the screen. Come on. Is it transitioning? There we go. So now the focus is on the phone. If I take it away, it's gonna, there you go. It pulled focus towards my face essentially. And I'm going to actually tweak it again. It actually focused on the background. But the way it moved that focus so smoothly is thanks to the dual pixel AF technology. And the reason everybody is so keen on the 5D series for video is due to the fact that the first 5D, the second generation and the third generation have been workhorse video DSLR cameras for many professionals in the industry without having to move into the cine range of lenses and bodies and maybe Red Pros and all that stuff. So it's a cost-effective way of producing great content. So the interesting thing and the strangest thing that Canon have gone and done is they've added 4K, but at the same time they've made working with 4K so much harder, and this is due to the use of the MJPEG codec, which is a codec where you have a MOV, so it's a whatever file name .mov container, which I should double check, but being MOV, that's QuickTime, so it's most likely, I'm pretty sure it has a lot to do with Apple in terms of the codec's origins, where every frame itself is stored as a JPEG. And the nuts and bolts of what it boils down to is there is very little compression to those JPEGs compared to the very popular H.264 MP4 format that everybody is using today. And even the content that I produce, even at 1080p, at H.264 exported from Premiere, is very high quality. It may not be the kind of quality that you would probably want if you're shooting Lord of the Rings, right? That's obviously the case. But if you're shooting 4K and you're doing that kind of work, you would be using a Red Pro, that kind of setup. But the point is, if you were to compare the 4K that's coming off the 5D Mark IV, and then you look at the 4K that's coming off, say, the A7R2. The quantifiable quality between the two is no longer such an issue when it affects your workflow, when you consider kind of file sizes that are coming off. Click the link over here for Peter Gregg's video on day 5 with the 5D Mark IV, and he talks about the issues he's faced to create a short clip. And what he describes is you end up with this MOV container that you have to transcode to a workable format, be it AVI, which nobody would really, MP4, which is more than enough for working with. And that transcoding process can take up to, it's basically an overnight task. And I would assume that he's got a pretty serious setup as well. And his more horrifying bit of information that he's provided is that a 30-minute clip of 4K footage from the 5D Mark IV occupies a 128 gig card, and it takes an entire charge of the battery. So that means if you're shooting 1 hour, you need 256 gigs of storage and you need 2 batteries. If you're shooting 2 hours worth, you need 512 gigs of storage and 4 batteries. That, I think, is also a huge issue that very few people have actually gone and touched on. And so the downside of the 5D Mark IV is for anybody who wants to do serious video work. And when I say serious video work, they're serious about their video work, but they may not be shooting The Lord of the Rings, something like that. So if you're doing 4K content on YouTube and you're trying to push quality 4K work into your YouTube channel, something like that, maybe you're doing ads as a student or someone who's finished uni and you're trying to start up in your career as working with film and using DSLR, I would seriously urge you to stay away from the 5D Mark IV and instead do your research on other options out there. And as a disclaimer, I haven't used a 5D Mark IV. I'm basing this on the comments of multiple people in the industry and the simple fact that it's MJPEG. It's pretty obvious that it's a deal breaker, no bueno for me. And to jump to the next bit of information I want to talk on, because I'm going to keep this clip under 15 minutes, is Nikon and Photokina 2016. Everyone thought that Nikon would come out with the D820. And, well, guess what? They didn't. So, no D820. They've come out with a series of 360-degree cameras so that they're basically entering the field or the segment of the market that GoPro kind of stays in. And so they're trying to go after the higher end industry in the GoPro space. And given the kind of quality that Nikon has, I'm pretty sure they'll do well in that aspect. But no D820, which means my very old but brand new, given the sense that I only purchased it a couple of months back. It's very old given that it's it only came out, I think, in 2012. Camera basically is still the flagship D8 XX camera. So the good news for those who own D8 XX basically, or the D810 to be quite frank, is that it's not going to devalue overnight thanks to a successor. And even if the D820 came out, I wouldn't rush out and buy one, given that I'm more a hobbyist, enthusiast type shooter, and the D810 itself is well enough spec'd out and capable enough to last me till it breaks, basically. But that's again interesting to see that Nikon has hedged their bets in a completely different sector without pushing out a new camera. And what's interesting is that 2016 was an interesting year, given they came out with the D5, and technology from the D5 has been made available in the D500. And the D500 has actually won Nikon so many awards, and a lot of people are loving D500 for shooting wildlife and sports, myself included. And it's strange that they've suddenly taken this sudden jump and departure into, well, in a sense, in terms of the bottom line, it's great that they're entering a new sector, fine, but it just makes you wonder why have they left out the D820. So that's interesting and somewhat troubling, I suppose, for those in the DSLR world. Maybe I'm sure there are quite a few who are really looking forward to a replacement, to upgrade and maybe get more of the features from the D5, D500 into the D820. Because when I compare the D500 and my D810, it's pretty obvious that the D500 has certainly moved forward in terms of technology quite a bit more, and even the menu system and some stuff in the menus just feels so much more refined. The controls are more refined, and that stuff is seriously lacking in the D810. And so time will tell where that's going to go. So this is just a very short clip on my thoughts on the 5D Mark IV and what Nikon did at Photokina 2016. Share your thoughts and comments, and you can do that in the section down below. Give me a like, subscribe, and I look forward to talking to you in the next clip. Bye bye.